I was born in the middle of '80s, so maybe for me the children or youth movies are the '80s thing that I still watch and enjoy and love to introduce to my own kids. So those topics and those they have really handled time. They don't get old.
I'm an 80s guy because I spent my childhood in the 80s. So I grew up with He-Man and Michael Knight and all that stuff. So that's my happy period, so to say. Yeah, I'm an 80s kid.
For the longest time I've been hugely into pretty much anything 80s. Especially the toy stuff I love the aesthetics of everything about it, and like the toy commercials, because like my childhood was obviously all about toy commercials, even though it was not the same decade, but in the end toy commercials have not changed that much from my point of view. Like as a kid I used to watch old VHS tapes that had a bunch of commercials from the 80s.
80s was cool. And there was lots of classic and iconic shit. I prefer 60s or 70s more because it wasn't that plastic or neon plastic at that time. Oh, okay, 70s was plastic but not neon.
On March 21st, 2025, Lordi released their 19th studio album, a record with incredibly strong lyrical, musical and thematic references to the 80s. Limited Edition will of course be that album, and that is the topic of this episode of Monsters of Rock, the Lordi story. So join me, Matthew Kessie, as we flash back in time to this Lordified version of the 80s. To begin our journey, we need to look back almost 2 years. Following Lordi's stint as a support artist on Sabaton's Tour to End All Tours in the spring of 2023, the work on Lordi's latest album would soon begin. However, the concept of the album was not very clear to begin with.
I kind of remember there being a lot of not being entirely sure what the theme is at the beginning, and then at some point it just hit him. Like I remember in the demo phase there was kind of like no clear path on where to go. And again, this is how I remember it. I'm not entirely sure how Mr. Lordi himself remembers it or recalls it. But I remember at first it was very vague and like let's just put together some songs and then see where it takes us. But then at some point it kind of hit him. Okay, we're going this path.
He just said that something like it's going to be like 80s sound and kind of sibling album to Home Animals or Amusement Park.
Oh, okay.
And that's it.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
How I remember it happening is that he had this idea of this, or at least bits of ideas of this concept already like a long time ago. I think how his mind works, that once one recording session and one album is like done and out, his mind gets already into a process of creating the new one.
And there was a conversation about what's the style gonna be, and at the moment he felt like, yeah, it's gonna be the same kind of stuff that he wrote on Screenwriters Guild. So I guess, yeah, we started from there. So, and I think this album sounds pretty much the same. It's like a sister album to that.
As KONE, HIISI, Hella and Mana stated here, the theme of the album was not very refined in the early stages. This was because of some issues affecting Mr. Lordi, as when he began to write new material, he found it hard to focus and have clarity of mind, due to a medical concern.
It was a bit hard to get this thing started, not because that I would have like any, real trouble with the creativity or productivity or anything. That it was just because I had the what is it called, coronary artery disease was found. Which is like a Finnish national fucking illness, like most of the men in Finland, around 50 they get that,
Okay.
and a lot of women too, so and they put these themes in my heart. But what happened was that was the time when I was supposed to be doing the demos. That was like in July 23. I found it hard to focus on shit, so I just started making myself life-size Chewbacca when I was when I was supposed to be writing the songs. But then a few months later, turns out that my medication was wrong. The heart medication was wrong for me. Turns out that it really made me tired and disorientated and shit. And I didn't fucking I didn't think much of it. I didn't really think that it didn't even occur to me that could be the reason. But one specific drug was changed to another one. It was almost like that I woke up from a months-long weird daydream. Like, oh, okay. So then things got clearer. So.
Once Mr. Lordi got past this difficult and disorientating period, the theme and approach became much clearer and definable. The musical tone and style of the new album would be similar to Screenwriters Guild, but slightly softer, with an emphasis placed on 80s nostalgia. However, this particular aspect proved tricky to deal with lyrically.
My ideas for the theme of the album or whatever influences to be used for the album, they were just all visual, and that was a little bit of a problem because they were all visual. Because in my mind I was like, let's do an album that is very 80s, and the only things I had in mind and were Rubik's Cube, neon lights, like some old 80s TV commercials or paper ads or something like that for like L'Oreal hairspray ads and shit like that, and toys and collectible toys and shit like that. So but all these themes are visual in my head, so it's kind of hard to actually put them into music because if you compare it, for example, to Screenwriters, which was really like more simple theme because it was like films and mainly horror films, and or let's say sexorcism, which was really clear, theme.
Yeah.
But this, when your fucking influence or your inspiration is a fucking Rubik's Cube, how the hell can you make a song of that? Or so it doesn't really. And I thought before we started making the lyrics with Tracy, I thought that this will be a fucking piece of cake because there's so many toys and so many things. But then again, that was exactly that was precisely the problem. Like literally, it was that problem that okay, I have visions of this and that, but okay, we cannot really write a song about Rubik's Cube. There's nothing. Yeah, you can't just make a song like Rubik's Cube. Oh yeah, well you can, but that would be the weirdest.
Yeah.
Weirdest song ever. That's why there's like a lyric like Retropolis, for example, or Syntax Terror.
That
they are just every line is just a painting a visual 80s kind of Judas Priesty kind of means nothing, just gives you an idea but doesn't tell a story. That's why there are those lyrics there on this album, more than usual, because we actually run into troubles with the whole idea with Tracy that okay, how the fuck are we gonna do a full album with this theme?
During this period, Mana and KONE were sending Mr. Lordi riffs, while HIISI was sending bass lines to him. Some of HIISI and KONE's would of course make it to the album. However, for Mana, he wasn't so fortunate this time around.
I care about the end result, of course. Good song is a good song. It doesn't matter who writes the riffs. I know this is like boring and stupid answer, but that's how it goes. This is a teamwork. It doesn't matter who brings the best riffs or melodies or lyrics. It's the end result, how it sounds on the album. That's all that matters. And my riffs ended up being in a really shitty demos. So, and it's not my fault. Just bad luck this time. So
KONE's involvement was something that Mr. Lordi both appreciated but also found entertaining.
Well, there was a lot of input from him, which was cool. But the funniest thing to me personally is that when he was doing the solos, and I asked him that, okay, that after hearing, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 of the demos of the demo solos or whatever, I asked him that, does every single song need to be like 16th notes? Like, does everything has to be like that? And I had that weird feeling of Gene Simmons' interview. I think it's 94, 95 on one of their home videos. I think Extreme Close-Up, when he was talking about Mark St. John and Vinnie Vincent. I said that, that there's millions of notes in a guitar solo. It sounds like an angry bee, and that fuck that shit, that, and I had that feeling that there's too much. And I asked him, does every song need to be, that fast, the solo? And his answer was, yes. They do need to be. And I'm like, all right then. And then I kind of like softly tried to, but could there be sometimes a little bit more like longer notes? And he said, no. Okay, there's solo. And now, after time has passed, okay, he was right. It sounds cool. But I remember that there's, I think, especially on the Righteousness song, he had a very different kind of solo first, and I really loved that. And now he did all the way through. And when I was playing the final album, after it went to mastering, or right before it went to mastering, to some of my friends, so people started laughing when they were listening to it, because every time the guitar solo comes, it's like full on speed, to the pedal, to the metal kind of thing. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of a song there is underneath, but KONE, is on the loose again, like, it doesn't matter if it's a ballad, he will go full, he will go crazy ape, crazy ass Vinnie Vincent, on dope, mode. But yeah, in the end he was right, because it sounds cool now.
Numerous songs on Limited Deadition make reference to 80s horror movies and also the huge upsurge in commercialization during this period. Collectible is one song which focuses dramatically on this and a collector's obligation or enslavement to his collection, while also having been the first in Lordi history to feature a fretless bass.
First time when I heard demo of that song, I thought that fretless bass sound would be nice to it. Okay. And of course I asked from Mr. Mana and Mr. Lordi what they think about it, and they were like, oh, we can try it. And then we were in that situation that I don't have any fretless electric bass, so I need to build fretless neck to my old made bass, and then I used it, and it came out quite nice. Fretless neck to my bass, and then I played with. And then that song is the only one who I played with different bass. All other tracks I played with my own made Miss Emerald green one bass.
Jesus,
and that's because I didn't have that S bass deal.
Right. Okay. when it happened,
back then. So but actually the S-basses use same pickups in my model that I used in my own build bases. So the sound is quite similar nowadays.
That is very cool. Did that take a lot of work to build the fretless neck on it then?
Present neck.
Yeah.
It's I don't remember. Maybe 2 weeks. Need to dry and everything like that. First time in Lordi history that there's a fretless bass.
Collectible also proved to be quite memorable for KONE as well.
That was actually incredible because we had a rare occasion of actually having time together with Mr. Lordi to sit down and just kind of play around with ideas. I came up with what I thought would be a good melody for a chorus, and then which ended up being the melody for the verses, or at least the start of the first verse, and then we just kind of played around with some chords together, and he ended up making it into the final song. Like he came up with the chorus and all the rest, but yeah, we kind of mangled the verse things together, if I remember correctly. It was super nice to actually do, like, other than just sending demos in a computer world. It is the bestest way to create music, is to just sit down with other people with instruments.
Collectible also features Mr. Lordi singing with soft vocals, probably being the cleanest vocal performance on a Lordi song, maybe on a par with The Bride from Screenwriters Guild. However, for Mr. Lordi, getting into the mode of delivering soft vocals can prove a challenge.
It's hard to keep the Lordi voice, away, because that is just a technical thing. That when I start, using my voice, that's I've been doing with the Lordi voice my whole fucking life. So that tends to try to invade and like intrude there, like take over my clean voice, but it can be done,
Yeah. Numerous tracks on Limited Edition have a storied background, like Kilharmonic Orchestra for one being born out of a challenge set by Mr. Lordi to KONE to try and create his own version of Bark at the Moon, or Fangoria being pushed by Lordi's label to be the main single for the record, despite being the band's least favourite track on Limited Edition. For the band though, they stuck to their guns and stood by Elizabeth to be the main single, despite the label first stating that they didn't wish to push Collectible or Elizabeth as singles, as one was a ballad and the other because of its unusual intro. That aspect though of Elizabeth was born out of a memory of Mr. Lordi's.
When I was a little kid, and most of my friends, when you first time you're already like digging dance and music and songs and shit, and then you're in, let's say, music class, music room in your school, and you take the guitar or you go to the piano or whatever, and the way you are playing those songs, you're just playing the vocal melody, because that's how it starts. You are like, because that's what you are humming, and that's what you are, that's what you hear. Because when you're a kid, your mind is very simple, so you think that that's the song. That's how the song goes, without understanding anything about, creating harmonies over chords and melodies. Are, that a vocal melody on its own is pretty much nothing, and it all depends on the vocal melody. What is it doing in interaction with the chords and the bass lines underneath? That's where the magic happens, or doesn't happen. But that's how it is. So that's why I wanted to go back to that. But I wanted to go to that, because it is the start of the song. It is actually the verse melody, vocal melody. But anybody can now listen to it, though, because it is the whole band is playing the vocal melody, like I would play when I was 9. If I would play. Everybody plays in unison with the vocal melody. And of course, there are songs in the world, like Heavens of Fire, for example.
Yeah.
The whole band plays in unison with the vocal melody. And it's very, very effective when needed.
When it comes to KONE, Elizabeth as a song, in his opinion, is the greatest that Mr. Lordi has composed.
It has everything. It's got the weirdest intro you've heard. It's got epic chords with a fucking church organ, and then it's got a weird disco vibey verses, and then just a fucking banger of a chorus. And then there's this little interlude before the choruses. That's kind of like a harmonized guitar thing. That's obviously, to me, that's just full on Iron Maiden. I think it was when I heard the drum track for the song when I realized that this is incredible piece of music. Yeah, for some reason that's just been I've been hyper focused on that song ever since that. I don't think there's been a day without me actually listening to the song. It's a banger. It's such a banger.
In terms of drumming on this track, an incredibly perfect drum fill is utilised immediately after KONE's solo, one which Mana took inspiration from a famous Finnish Schlager artist.
On the original demo there was like Mr. Lordi had written like here comes some kind of drum mayhem, so there was a space to be filled, so that's what I did. And I actually stole that drum fill from Finnish Schlager artist Tapani Kansa, quite well-known song here called RAKAS. When Mr. Lordi makes the demos, there are already, of course, like machine drums, because his drums that he programs can be like impossible to play. You need to have like five hands or 3 legs all playing at the same time. So yeah, I kind of compose the drums to the real world in a way. So that's how it goes.
This track, as previously stated, was of course the main single for the album. Elizabeth was recorded in Rovaniemi, half in an old cabin which was freezing, while the band shots were actually shot in Mr. Lordi's newly renovated cabin / kind of man cave space at his home. This experience for the whole band, though, was quite varied.
Oh, actually, it was a long sweaty day in the train, because we live in night train from Tampere. We were there like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and then start to shoot immediately, and then we leave at 9 p.m. train to back to Tampere. So it was one day in Rovaniemi, and fucking train takes 8 hours to
Jesus.
to there and back. Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, it was a long day.
Oh, it was the absolute smoothest video shoot ever. I took a plane from Helsinki. I flew in. I spent 4 hours in Rovaniemi and I flew out.
The video was edited and directed by Mr. Lordi, as they have been since the Lordiversity era. But what you may not know is that there were green screen shots recorded of the whole band and Elizabeth, but these were not included or edited, as the deadline for the video was fast approaching. Another element which would not be common knowledge is that Mr. Lordi wanted to have a particular type of song or solo on Limited Edition, but that didn't come about this time around.
He would have wanted to have a hella solo on the album, and I don't know, I have a creative block. I like few times sat down with the idea that what would it be, but just couldn't come up with anything. I wonder if it's a stage in my life or what's going on. It's just too much going on, and then it was really, really hard to find an idea that I would be excited about to like start working on, and then I just had to like give up on it because I didn't want to force it. Like that would have sucked. It would have been something just like, okay, let's just make something. Creative process is like when you're forced to it. I don't know, this is how I work, that when you're forced to it, that's when it gets even harder. I don't know, I just got blocked with it, and luckily Mr. Lordi thought that, okay, well, if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. So this is how it ended up.
As with every Lordi album, SCGs play a key role in presenting the theme of an album. On Limited Edition, they are vital as they function as advertisements between songs. The main player in this arena, this time around, is Ralph Ruiz.
White hair shedding, dirty punani. Yeah. The man who never showers. The king of the hobos. Sewer boy. Yeah. Is that enough? Yeah.
Ralph, or whatever nickname you wish to call him by, has been living in Rovaniemi, Finland for the last couple of months, working as a Santa in Lordi Square, a DJ and Pahakurki Rockhouse, the site of the Scream stream from 2020, but most importantly for Monster Maniacs, he has been busy creating SCGs.
It seems like each album we're getting a lot more, I would say, advanced. It's not just like one little intro in the beginning of the album. There's a lot more little spoken SCGs now, especially with this one, because, you know, it's a whole, of course, 80s retro and like commercials and stuff. So we just started throwing around a lot of ideas, trying to think, like, let's say one, the crazy Ralph, okay, commercial. He wanted something like an appliance store personality. Now, when I was growing up in New York, there was this guy named Crazy Eddie.
Get a color TV or a Sony Betamax or a TV video game. Get it now, because Crazy Eddie can't be beat. With prices so low, he's practically giving it all away. Shop around, get the best prices you can find, then go to Crazy Eddie, and Crazy Eddie will beat him. Remember, Crazy Eddie guarantees you the largest selection, professionally staffed service centers, and the guaranteed lowest prices. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
And he was an appliance store salesman, so like you'd be watching TV on Channel 9, it'd be like, Crazy Eddie, where his prices are insane. That was the catchphrase, and he was selling toasters and all that kind of shit. So of course, getting into the Lordi universe, I thought it would be better, you know, like he's selling, you know, chainsaws and poison and guns and shit like that. So I wanted to make it more, instead of just crazy Eddie, where, you know, crazy Ralph. And, you know, of course, the last crazy, I'm like shaking my head, so it looks like I'm going insane.
Hey, you chainsaw holding maniac. Your murdering rampage not what it should be? Here at Crazy Ralph.
Yeah, I was staying right across the field from Mr. Lordi's house. Was his cousin's house, so it was a little cabin. So after the tour, I stayed all of May because that's when we started to record all the SCG. So this was May of 2024.
Right.
And a lot of it kind of left up to me to come up with, wording what I was going to say. Yeah, that was one that I really enjoyed doing.
5 Scartic Circle gatherings feature on limited edition, from a wrestling match based around Mana and HIISI scrapping it out in a barbed wire steel cage that's also on fire, where we can see Ralph doing his best impression of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, to then a toy commercial for Lordi figurines. But one that pops up twice is the Hexecutioners.
He had an idea for the Hexecutioners, which was like a night show, a mystery kind of thing. Now with that, this is where we started thinking, they can't all sound like me.
Yeah.
There's a couple where, of course, I'm kind of changing my voice, but this is when he started thinking maybe we should try AI voicing. So the Hexecutioners, I think that might have been the producer of the album. It is my words and it's my phrasing, but it's his voice that you hear. Okay. So that changed that.
On the SCG television network, the thrilling season finale of the Hexecutioners.
This meat can use some salt. Has anyone seen Cousin Teddy? I haven't seen him in a few days.
For some reason, the idea of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, because we're all sitting around eating. Cousin Teddy, I feel like, hey, we haven't seen Cousin Teddy in a while. I was like, I haven't seen him either. I laugh, and he goes, anyway, let's eat. And basically what it was is that we're eating him. That idea just came for anyone who remembers a movie called The Rocky Horror Picture Show, which was a crazy rock and roll musical set in the 1970s. There was a scene where Eddie, played by Meatloaf, that they're all around the table eating, and they found out that they're eating Eddie. So I just came up with that idea that we're eating Cousin Teddy, and I got the idea from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So it was just another thing to tie into the Hexecutioners. And, of course, in Lordi universe, it's got to be some horrific kind of instance. So I thought, okay, we're sitting here eating Teddy, and no one knows where he is, but here we are eating him.
Let's eat.
Mr. Nowak, don't make me hungry. You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry.
The Hexecutioners.
This Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
As the cycle of editing, mixing and mastering comes to an end, the focus for Lordi shifts to the visual side. And with the 20th anniversary of the Rockalypse and the Eurovision victory on the horizon in 2026, the costumes were designed to reflect aspects of the costumes from this era and the past members in Eamon, Kita, Awa and Ox. With Lordi focusing on these references, each member of the band had a few suggestions for their new looks.
There was a thing with the elbow pads in the previous costume that they were driving me insane, and I was doing my best to drive everyone around insane because of them. And now there's a different solution, and I've done one gig with them, and it's better, but I will still need to kind of figure out some practical things about them. For looks wise, I had my hand in making it a bit wider and bigger. I'm kind of very happy about the way it came out, but also it seems to be very difficult to get through doors with the wider shoulders.
I had the original idea what kind of Ella I want to be, and I sent Mr. Lordi some references of pictures that I just googled, but that kind of the idea that looks looks cool to me. I made all the purchases of the pieces, like the hair and the eyes and shoes and everything. I got to choose. Mr. Lordi did the obviously the molding of the face and the molding of the details. That's his full-on creation, but the idea and kind of like I gave him the pieces of clay which he molded.
Yeah, I had some ideas. I had the smile was my idea. I wanted to have like Joker kind of smile on the face, so that was one, and maybe a little bigger jaw, and the hair is different now that I wanted to change. So yeah, bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah, I did ask from Mr. Lordi that could you add more skull in my mask, and and he really added the skull theme in my back to my face. Yeah, the base of that costume is quite similar, like old HIISI. It's working really good and looks good and scary, and yeah, I really enjoy the play in that costume. Yeah, I did some little things, added some fabric or gluing or that kind of things, and actually I got the little skulls in my dreads by myself, and it's my tribute to Mr. Ox.
With the looks completed, the album polished and ready for release, and the video shot and edited, the last thing to tick off was the setlist and rehearsals for the Limited tour, which started in Tampere, Finland on March 21st, the same day as the release of Limited Deadition. Featuring a setlist of new releases and rarities and live debuts like Call Off the Wedding, Girl in a Suitcase and Beast of Both Worlds. The final thing to establish then was the live show theatrics.
I came from 4 months of being Santa Claus, 2 days off, so that'd be the 1st, 2nd. So Monday, March 3rd, I moved out of the apartment where I was staying in Rovaniemi, and then I was staying at his house, at Mr. Lordi's house, because we just started coming up with all these kinds of ideas. He had a few ideas of these Halloween kind of props, like, bodies cut in half and heads being pulled off the bodies and all that stuff that he wanted to do. Now, the thing is, though, we were watching these videos on YouTube, and these were professional Halloween gags and tricks that are being made professional. And we're like, how the fuck do we do that in the middle of nowhere, Rovaniemi, and are there enough hardware shops and everything around here that, if we need the materials, can we make this? So, which I noticed being involved over the years, there's been a great crew of people that have worked on these props, but I've never seen them really take lots of notes on what they're building.
Yeah.
Just scribble here and there. So, I'd be like, hey, how was this built? I don't know. Ask Jessica. And Jessica, do you remember? A little bit. And I was always, I was like, God damn it. Well, I was like, why weren't notes taken? What size was it? And it would have to be like scrounging through old notes, hopefully, maybe getting a measurement on something. So this time around, because I was involved, I just got a notebook. Even before we made any single prop, I just started drawing out what Mr. Lordi's thinking. How maybe can we work this out? How big should it be? So a lot of times I would sketch something out. How are we going to build this out of wood? And this time we were really trying to make the props lighter, because last year a lot of the props and the walls that, you know, we used on stage were really heavy. So we were trying to figure out ways and materials to make them a lot lighter. So the first thing, we're like, how can we make these props lighter, still, you know, strong and sturdy, but using lighter materials? So that's where we started thinking on how to do this. And holy crap, I mean, the whole setup can be set up with one person, being that, you know, we don't need two people to hold one sidewall because it weighs so goddamn much. You know, if needed, one person could set everything up.
On April 17th, following performances in Finland, Poland, Netherlands, England, Scotland, France and Belgium, Lordi concluded their first edition of the Limited Tour. And to finish our episode today, I wanted to leave you with the hopes and aspirations of the band, and also with the most difficult aspect of Lordi's position.
But for real, I would like to play great shows and tours with them, as many as possible. Of course, would be nice to go to US, everywhere. I could record another 10 albums, because it takes just a few years.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
Another 6 years of 20 albums with Lordi. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That would be nice as well.
It's a weird time in my life to answer that question, because there's so much else going on. Right now, it's more like it's a bit challenging to keep up with the band. For example, on this upcoming tour, I'm not gonna play all the shows, which is sad. I can't make it to more than half of the shows. But future will tell. I'm really trying my hardest to make everything work, to like find time and space in my life for everything that's going on right now. But yeah, for the spring part of the tour, it was very much a challenge, and I am so lucky that there's this character, Mr. Nalle, that was able to come and take over the parts that I have to skip. So
I would love to tour America. That's like for me that would be the bestest thing to do, like to get to do. And also Japan, Australia, I mean everything. I would love to go everywhere where it's possible to go. Obviously I would love to see Lordi as a band evolve into like an arena touring band. We were doing the tour supporting Sabaton, and every night I was just watching the stage being built and then kind of imaging that we should be there too, like. And it would be incredibly cool, and just to get to tour arenas again, like as a support even. I loved that. That was like easy, painfully easy.
The most difficult part of the whole, you mean the whole thing?
The whole thing, yeah.
The constant rush, the lack of free time, being able to relax. I haven't had a single holiday or vacation ever.
Right.
So
okay.
Yeah, so that's the worst, I would say. That we're always, it doesn't matter what we plan, it doesn't matter how well we plan the schedules, and it looks good on paper, but then the reality hits, and then it always ends up in a situation where we are already late from the schedule and things need to be done now, and they have to be ready by tomorrow, and that creates a lot of stress when you are. And Frank, our manager, he said that well, yeah, you have to prioritize this. You know, we need to get the merchandise for the tour. We need to get that, you know, to print. I said, well, but I'm also doing interviews and yeah. Those are also priority number one. And we also need to, you know, make the stage setup props. Yeah, that's also priority number one. So there's like all these different aspects of, you know, different priorities, but they all are priority number one because they really cannot be compared. Every single part of the things are equally as important. You know, you need everything to be done in time, you know? You cannot leave some area without. And then when Frank said that, yeah, this is a problem when there's one guy who is, you know, responsible for all the artistic decisions and also not only decisions, but also like actually making them. Yeah, I know, been here more than 20 years doing this, I know.
Yeah.
So that is the hardest part. Okay. Absolutely, the constant rush.
Thank you for joining me for this episode on Limited Deadition. What did you think of the episode and also of Lordi's latest album? I want to say a huge thank you to Lordi, Mana, Hella, HIISI and KONE and Ralph Ruiz for their time and insights, and also an extra bit of gratitude goes out to Mana and HIISI for recording exclusive drum and bass line tracks for the episode, and for the whole band allowing me to record their rehearsal as well, which you can hear interspersed throughout this episode. Lastly, stay tuned to True Metal Pod on Instagram or X to stay up to date with the series. I've been your host, Matthew Kessie. Thanks for joining us this time, and you've been listening to MonSTARS of Rock, the Lordi story.
MonSTARS of Rock, the Lordi story is a True Metal podcast production. The show is presented, produced and written by Matthew Kessie. Head to True Metal Pod's social channels to keep up to date with the production.